Welcome back to day 10 of the Choose Life quest. Today's lesson is all about patience. Christ encouraged his disciples in Luke chapter 21, by patience possess your souls. When we exercise patience in our lives, we take agency for ourselves. We take control of our life, of our outcomes, of our attitude. And this week, as we focus on the agricultural principles, the biblical principles of sowing and reaping, patience really comes into play. The process of planting and harvesting, sowing and reaping has busy times, and it has times of rest, of waiting. Those are the times that we need to practice patience. When there's really very little for us to do, it's a matter of waiting. And not waiting and gritting our teeth and having to be really patient, but no, having the calm collectedness to benefit from a waiting period instead of just suffering through it. If you've ever found yourself in a slow chapter of life, it can be a welcome relief, a time to recover, to rest from whatever you've just come through. Or you can spend that time climbing the walls, rebelling against the slowness of the day. Maybe it feels like the results of your planting, of your sowing, should already be here. It should just hurry up and happen so you can move on. This frustration can handicap us from appreciating the moment, from the peace that God is giving us right now. It's also the perfect opportunity to start doubting, to allowing those seeds of doubt to creep in about the process, wondering if the seeds that you've planted will even yield a harvest, or if self-doubt, wondering if because you've done something wrong, because you're flawed, that means that you won't get the harvest you're expecting. Perhaps worrying that some disaster, some mishap, some error will crop up, that you'll get a harvest of something that you didn't mean to plant. These are all handicaps, all shortcomings, natural human flaws, human reasoning that take away from the bounty of the harvest that we're looking forward to. We're all familiar with the parable in Matthew chapter 6, Christ speaking to these ideas of worrying, spelling out clearly that God has created everything. He provides for the birds, the grass grows and is beautiful by itself, the flowers, but that we are so much more valuable and that He won't provide for and create those small, inconsequential, but beautiful things and forget to give us what we need. So in these slow times, as you're waiting, watching your crops develop, nurturing the seeds that you've planted, it's the time to remember these principles that God's Word teaches us, remembering that patience is a key part of this process. If you've ever cared for a physical garden, you know the futility, the foolishness of trying to will your plants into greater productivity. If you look closely, most seed packets have numbers on them, guidelines that they give you, 14 days to when you should begin to see sprouts, that first hint of something beginning to grow and mature. And then a length of time until you can expect mature fruit. 61 days, 84 days, depending on the plant. You know how long from when you plant the seeds to when you should see something coming out of the ground, and then how many more days until you can expect to reap a harvest. Your preferences, how hard you concentrate on your plant while it's growing, how much sooner you want that fruit to be ready, don't have anything to do with how long that plant will take. Sowing and reaping spiritual fruit in our lives is much the same, but there are two critical differences. One is that we don't have time guarantees. There aren't guidelines of when we'll begin to see growth or when our harvest will be mature and ready for us. The second difference is that we do have some control over how long this process takes, not by force of will and impatience, but how much we are willing to trust God, to exercise that patience in our lives, to allow spiritual growth to happen instead of resisting it and pushing. So when you have a period of rest, of waiting, of watching spiritual fruit grow without you needing to do anything, remember that in patience you possess your soul, and remember to trust the process. God does not change. What He expects of us, His people, His children, does not change. Galatians says this: "Let us not become weary in doing good, For at the proper time, we will reap a harvest. We see that doing good is the key principle in these slow times between planting and reaping. Now, granted, everything we do is planting a seed, but doing good in the process through the entire time from planting to reaping is what we are admonished to continue doing. We each need to consistently, patiently trust that God will bring about what He's promised, and doing so steadfastly at every opportunity, choosing to do good, to exercise righteousness. Those are the things that will cultivate and nurture our spiritual growth, whether or not we can see how. By shining a light, by being an example of God's way in every opportunity, in every instance that we have each day. That is nurturing the spiritual fruit that we are going to harvest. That is the key to lasting change in your life. Not impatiently waiting to finally harvest what's yours, what you've earned, but instead embracing living God's way every day in the busy times and the times of patiently waiting. So remember, do not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time, God promises we will reap the harvest.